And here we are going live. Are we live now? Yes, I think we are live now. All right, good deal. Hello, folks.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? It's an early morning for you, Hana, and we'll come back to that.
Yes, 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on our Cave Talk.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. And it's been a while. Rawaz, welcome as well. I haven't seen you in, 6 years when we were last in Kurdistan?
Indeed.
That's right. Yeah. A little bit about how we met, Rawaz.
Sure.
And then,
Go for it.
Okay.
Well, to everybody who's joined us, thank you for watching. We were invited to Kurdistan to conduct a leadership training for Fanoos Telecome. I mean, Kurdistan, I had to search because, Iraq, oh my God, I have to go to a war-torn country. Sorry, pardon for that. Usually, the media, it gives an impression. So we were pleasantly surprised when we reached a couple of days before our training, and we explored Suleimania. There are so many ways to spell Suleimania. That's what I.
Yeah.
And the food and the hospitality and your father Kakhiva, what an amazing person. And then Raja Haider is the one who actually brought us there. So Rawaz also attended our program on leadership there. It was in a very, very nice hotel there. And we have great memories from all the top 20, 22 people, executives in the organization.
Your parents were there as well, Kakhiva.
Indeed. Kakhiva and Hasan were there. Yes, they were there.
Yeah. So great memories from there. And then, here we are, 6 years later. So you and Zaufi connected and you guys decided to do this talk here. And Hana, thank you so much for joining us from New York. What time is it there?
It's 5 a.m. now. 5:02.
It's 5 a.m. Wow, man, that's early. Yeah.
It is very early. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So Rawaz and Hana have been married for 7 years.
I think
2011 we got married.
We're entering our 9th year. We're entering our 9th year.
Actually, I'm a bit of a mathematical person, so we got married on the 22nd of July, which is 22/7, which is the same number as pi. So nice. It's a constant. That's what we're hoping that it would be.
Nice.
That's continuity, right?
Yes.
It continues, multiplies in that same order. Well, that's really wonderful.
And that's I'm just curious before we jump into the business aspects of things. How long has it been that you guys have not met? I mean, you were in New York, Hana. You went for your degree. What degree did you get over there? Please do share with us.
So, it's been 2 years for me here in New York. I came here in 2018, and now we're in the year 2020. But I was supposed to be here for my graduation, which did not happen. So I think it's been 6 months since the last time we met. We met in December 2019. It's been a very tough journey, to be honest. It's not easy being afar from each other, and me being in New York. There's a time difference. There's I don't know how many miles away from each other. It really does affect you in some ways. But at the end of the day is, what you make of it and how you try to work it out. I mean, of course, there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of good moments and bad moments. But at the end of the day, it's what you make of it. And we're trying to work it out in terms of connecting with each other in terms of, the timing, 5 a.m. in the morning. So
I know.
But what would you recommend, Hana, to all the families that have been are different parts of the world? They've been split and they cannot meet at the moment. Just 2-3 pointers because you've been through it. And
what do I recommend? Oh my God, that's a tough question. What do I recommend?
Should husband and wife be together or should they be separate in this quarantine?
And
I mean, like I said, it's very, very tough to be. I mean, specifically at this time, during this isolation period, during this quarantine, I mean, it's not easy being by yourself. That's one. Now, being with a husband, that I have no idea.
I do.
I don't know.
I think Zaufy, you should comment on that one.
Yeah. Either way, it's not healthy being by yourself in isolation. That's definitely not healthy. You need some sort of human contact. But whether that's a friend or a partner or a husband, I mean, I recommend, you have to have some sort of human connection at this period of time. But for us, it's been, like I said, it's been very tough. But I don't want to kind of advise things that are not recommended, but I would say stay in touch, keep talking to each other, communicate.
Yeah,
we were having this discussion earlier. Remember, day before yesterday, in which I said sometimes it's better to be, it's better to be apart rather than fighting all the time, because then you.
That's actually in some ways because of when I was in Kurdistan, we spent 7 years together there in Kurdistan. And I feel like in the past 2 years that I've been here away from Rawaz, I got to talk to him more and get to know him more over the phone and over technology as opposed to being there physically with him, which is interesting. Right. When you see someone in person all the time, you kind of get used to them. And there were so many things that I never really paid attention to, or there were so many things that I didn't know about him. But I got to know him got to re-know him through talking to him on the phone, scheduling, chat sessions and, calls. And we discuss things on the phone, and we have a lot of topics here.
Yeah.
Very good. So Rawaz, what my ears are hearing is she got to know you more once she left for New York.
Yes. So I mean, this is probably a common theme across people that have left their countries, and I think Haseeb and Zaufy, you guys have also experienced this. And I lived in, I was in London, for example, for 5 years. Hana was there, and that's where I met her. People that, leave their own communities for a short or long periods of time, they tend to have, and this is what research has shown, is that they tend to have a deeper sense of self. So they start looking at themselves not just as an individual, but they can actually see the particular differences that they have versus their own societies that they live in. And then they start, revisiting their value systems, because, it's very easy to be in one society and, basically adopt everything within that society. But then once you change societies and you see a different culture and you see a different way of life, then you start questioning, simple questions like, is British food or American food better than Kurdish food? Is Kurdish music better than English music? Is Pakistani music more interesting? Is the right way of a wedding? Should it be 5 people in one room, or should it be 500 people like the way we did it? Because when you travel, and especially when you live somewhere else, this is what it really gives you. It makes you question, very, very basic things, and it forces you actually to know yourself. Because then it allows you to say, okay, Pakistanis may want 500 people weddings, or people might like Italian food, but I like this type of food because of X, Y, Z. And for me, I think and this has been a journey that me and Hana have been through. I think for me that has been the most profound part, which is that being apart allows you to more explore yourself. And to really, this is probably a cliche, but it's to know thyself is one of the oldest statements in philosophy. And Zaufy, you could probably elaborate on this. But I think in times like Corona, this is the most important thing that one can do. And the truth is, very little of what we can do is what we can control, right? when we think in terms of our lives, we think, okay, I can do this and I can do that and I can do this. But the reality is most of those we don't control. They're just there. They just happen, and we just have to go along with it. Whether we like it or not is something else. The world doesn't stop for us, and for me, that's been the most profound part of our experience, when we've been far from each other, because, whether it's a visa issue, whether it's a flight issue, whether it's a clash of times where we could meet because of my work commitment and her studying commitments, those are all things that are rarely in our control, unless if we decide that it's within our control, So for me, that has been the most important part of, not just this Corona times, but even the times of ISIS, when, Kurdistan was hit with another crisis before this.
Right, and that's exactly what my next question was going to be to both of you. But you brought up a very important point, so I cannot go forward until I've said that I show a circle which is called locus of control. We feel that we are in control, but those things we don't really focus upon. Like, if the flights have stopped, that is out of my control. But what I can do, just like you guys, you tried to know each other more in a more objective point of view. And that's what happens in uncertain times, which is why I was so fascinated to hear what you had to say in either the ISIS situation or in when the actual war was going on. There were 2-3 things, one was the fear of what the war was going to do, or ISIS in that particular circumstances as well. But, there was fear and paranoia about, lives of family members and of self. That was one thing. And the other was financial insecurity. That, if the war continues, whatever business they were going to be, people were saying what's going to happen. So the war was not in the locus of control or ISIS, but how we managed things were going to be in our locus of control to make the best use. So can you share with us, and I'll come to you, Hana, as well, that, pre that time of uncertain time and during, what was the situation and how did people manage? I mean, you yourself, your parents, in your own business, as well as what did you observe of other people?
Thank you for that question. So, just coming back on what Haseeb said, I would like to take a moment to briefly introduce myself. So I am Rawaz Rauf. I was born in Sulaimani, Kurdistan region of Iraq. I am 35 years old. In 2004, I finished high school. If what society told me that I should have been a doctor. That's what most of our societies expect us. But, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the top graded students at that time. And I still remember interviewing newspaper came to me. I was the second highest graded student in Kurdistan. And he came to me and he said, what kind of doctor do you want to become? As if like it was given that I would have to become a doctor. And, I told the journalist, I said, I'm not going to become a doctor. This is just not for me. I would like to be an engineer. I would like to explore the world of business. And funnily enough, he didn't run that piece. He said, you're lying. I don't believe you. You're going to be just like everyone else who says, I'm not going to do this, and just become a doctor. And then I will look like a fool, But anyway, I was fortunate enough to be able to afford to go to the United Kingdom with the help and support of my parents. I did my 4 years of studies there, made lots of friends there. And once I finished my studies there, and having met Hana in London, we decided that we would want to go back to Kurdistan. So from 2008 onwards, I started working with my family primarily. My family has been in the world of business for as long as I remember. I still remember childhood dinners and lunches, and they were basically HR evaluation forms. They would talk about, this guy did this, and how would we handle this person, and how would we, deal with this kind of situation. So for me, the world of business was a training that I got from early childhood. It was not something that I was exposed to, after I graduated. And just coming back to our leadership course, I think we met in June 2014, May 15th, 2014. So just to give everyone a bit of perspective on when that was 20 days before ISIS attacked Mosul. And what happened after that was, and I think Zaufy and Haseeb, you guys remember those days, it was really like, there was no one was expecting ISIS to come with such a great force. I mean, nobody was expecting it to take over a third of the country, and us doing that workshop at that time, 20 days before that incident, it was really not expected for people. Now, there were, of course, some warning signs. There was a bit of, people unhappy about it during those times. There was a lot of Sunni disenfranchisement in that area, lack of opportunities in the Sunni areas, especially Mosul. But, our company had built the largest internet service provider in Mosul 6 months prior to that. And that training program that we were doing with your help was really about us trying to figure out how to become better as a company. But what this ISIS crisis really taught me is, is that you could try to have a good product, you could try to have a good service, you could try to have motivated staff, but the reality is you cannot defy the laws of gravity, or the things that are outside your control. So when that crisis hit, we were forced to basically look inwards and say, okay, what is it that we can do as a company or a business or as a family? What is it that what is our role going to be going forwards? Because we're certainly not capable of fighting ISIS. That is not too much to ask for any business. And that is clearly going to be someone. It's outside your domain of control. But what is in your domain of control is how you treat your employees, how you treat your family, how you treat yourself, more importantly, and to basically try to come out of that crisis as a better, more productive, or more joyful person. And I think you can also relate to this. It was very much a time to look at, what are the things that you can control. And I remember very specifically at that time for you, you were at the American University, you were working there. So it would be nice for everyone else's benefit to explain kind of what you went through during those times and what was your feelings and how did you approach such a crisis that was coming along.
Yeah. So I think I kind of skipped introducing myself earlier, so I can kind of like revert back to that and just for the audience to talk about my background a little bit. So like Rawaz, I am also UK educated. I studied spatial designing in the UK for about 4 years there, and I went back to Kurdistan in 2010. I tried to work in my field for about 2 years as a freelance or as a free officer or free agent, trying to like make it there in that industry. Then I realized that a country being in war for so many years, the last thing people really cared about or known about spatial designing. So it was 2 tough years, but then I had to like kind of change direction. And this is where I started working, starting from zero, literally from the American University of Iraq Slimani, which is a non-profit American university, which is located in the city of Slimani. So I started there working from, as a testing assistant to marketing coordinator, then moved to a communication associates, then outreach and communication manager. And just before coming here to New York, I was also the interim director of the Department of Communications. So during the time of, like I said, from 2010 until 2014, as I remember, Sulaimani in Kurdistan, being, moving up in terms of, prospering in some sense, and there was a lot of hopes, and there was a lot of opportunities being presented. But it was around 2014 where we started seeing things decline, and we started seeing, and this is where ISIS entered the region. And from my perspective as an employee, being in a non-profit institution, what happened to us was, first thing first, was our, let's say, pay raise, or if there was any chance for us to get promoted, that was being frozen. And also, because the institution was non-profit, there was an annual contribution by the government coming to the institution that was cut as well. So as the institution, as the university, we did feel that there was a lack of financial security coming to the institution. So each and every single one of us, the employees, that had to kind of work on our own and start being self-motivator. And again, it was the way we reacted to it. As I remember, some of the staff members were just doing their jobs and just getting by day and trying to keep things together. But there was others of us that kind of went above and beyond and just took initiatives. And, I feel like they were part of something, part of a mission, part of the goal. Again, that comes back from the founder and the let's say the CEO of the institution, this founder president, encouraged us that this is a mission, this is the goal, and even though we can't, get raises, we can't get promotion. At the end of the day, this space is yours. You make out. You work hard, and that reflects on yourself and your personality. So for us, we had to work on our own. We had to be self-motivator. But one of the things that really, I would say, affected us was people's behavior around what was happening around the country. Again, the new there's a lot of dogs barking. What's going on there?
Yeah, where is the dog?
I think they're at my place. I have two dogs that are around, and I think there is a delivery that has come to the house. So they're barking at them, and I do apologize.
Yeah, just
okay.
Going back to people's behavior, and some of them were my friends as well. So you can't help but to feel that, again, like what we're feeling now, the uncertainties here during this pandemic. There was also some uncertainties happening when there was ISIS closing in, especially when they were closing into the Kurdish part of Iraq, especially towards Erbil. Even though you would think that we're far from them, we're 2 hours away from them, you still get that sense of uncertainty, you get that sense of fear. And that fear, some people, if you don't acknowledge it, that you're afraid, you kind of react to it in certain ways and use other platforms to kind of vent off your reaction or your emotions. And a lot of people got laid off from their job, from the government, and that affected most of my staff who were married to those employees. So yeah, it did affect the mood. It affected people's behavior. It affected their motivation. It affected how you approached life. When you're a secure person, you're motivated. You try to aspire. You try to do something for yourself. And when not motivated, what do? You just get by. You just do your routine. You just go to work and do this thing and then go home. So
Khalli wali.
Yeah, the productivity level, goes down. So I think for us as a non-profit institution, we had I would say two groups. One group that were productive and they did it because they felt they were part of something. The other group they were just getting by. Not that I'm saying that, you know, they did anything wrong. It was just how they reacted to it and how they behaved during that time.
And Hana, just to come back on the point of, you know, people being laid off and lives being, you know, I think, you know, if you come like from the business side, which is the view that I have, you know, the single most important decision for us was to be extremely transparent with our employees and with our customers. I think, you know, it's so easy to be, you know, in a time of crisis to actually start closing in, you know, and to basically, you know, not, you know, to basically control through management of information. But very early on, you know, we decided that it was important to let all our employees know the gravity of the situation. I mean, we were already, you know, in most of our companies, we were very transparent. You know, so the staff were always aware of like the number of subscribers, you know, the number of sites, you know, the customer service would know exactly how many sites were on and off. And what we didn't do, more important that we did, was that we didn't cut off any of that information from the staff, you know. So we told them, look, you know, I think it was towards the end of 2014 where Fanoos Telecom's 60% of its network was destroyed, you know, and you know, and we were getting pictures of how things were moving ahead on the ground. And what we didn't do was to basically close down and hide the reporting. Actually, you know, we started telling people like, look, you know, these are the subscriber numbers, these are the revenue numbers. We kept having the same management meetings that we used to have, you know, being as open and transparent with ourselves, you know, to basically allow the room, allow the information to propagate the institution properly, but more importantly, so that people take ownership and are aware of the situation, but at the same time, they can plan their lives accordingly. Because, you know, when you don't have information as a staff member or as an employee or a business owner, then it's really, really hard to make the correct decisions accordingly. And, you know, toward the end of it, we were actually forced to tell people to let go of some of our staff, and we did this really with most participation from all the team members. You know, we tried to understand, you know, who could be considered non-essential at this new phase. What is it that what is it that we're planning for? You know, are we going to revive the network or not? Are we going to put operations back or not? How long do we think this will last, and make adjustments and corrections accordingly? But but at the same time, we had to be honest with ourselves, because, you know, and it was very easy at that time for people to be numb. I mean, I remember, Hana, there was one particular incident, because, you know, every time a crisis hits, it's normal to be numb at the first stage and just be scavenging for information. But there was a wedding that we had gone to, that there were some family members visiting from Erbil, you know, and they had come there. You know, we were enjoying our times, and we were talking about, you know, how life is good in Suli, and this was right after Mosul had fallen, you know. And, you know, for us being in Slimani, you know, we were thinking, okay, you know, it's, you know, there was an initial thought of that, oh, you know, that's you know, outside Kurdistan, and that's never gonna come to us, you know. But during that wedding, you know, I started hearing these murmurs around, you know, like, okay, so do you guys have a place if we can stay tonight? And do you guys have like and it was, you know, it was shocking to me. It's like, what? I mean, okay, they're guests, they're coming to town, but why would they want to stay here for longer? You know, and by the time we switched on our phones, we actually realized that ISIS was attacking Erbil, and people in Erbil were already fleeing to Suleimania, and people in Suleimania were thinking of fleeing to the Iranian border, you know. I still remember a poor guy was interviewed live on TV that night, and the TV reporter was basically trying to keep, you know, everyone's morale up, you know. So he was like going around and telling people, you know, you guys should, you know, not be scared, and, you know, this is a crisis, but we will go through this. And he basically went to a person that had a full pickup at 1 a.m. with his entire house at the back of the pickup. And he said, "So, sir, how are you doing and where are you going?" And the poor guy was like, I'm just moving houses. He said, "You're moving a house at 1 a.m.? And he was like, "Yeah," and it just really shows you that, people at times like that really can panic, and that's natural, but at the same time, it's important to, right size your level of response to the crisis. So do not overreact, do not underreact. I mean, I don't know if you guys, and I'm sure some of your viewers know this, but Kurdistan in history has been through a lot. We have had genocidal campaigns, we have had the Halabja atrocities, and Saddam Hussein himself was a complete package. So for Kurdish people, whenever they hear a crisis, they think of fleeing. That is the base response.
Learned behavior from the past.
Yeah, so like we look at our past grievances. So what was quite funny is when Corona hit, people were filling up their tanks as if they were gonna run away from Corona, but it doesn't work like this,
Right. Something which Hana said, and I'd like to just refresh everybody. Acknowledge the fear. Most people, they are in denial. So very good point, Hana, that you have to acknowledge the fear. Only once you have accepted that, only then you can go forward. And very good point about transparency with the employees, that they need to know, even if those are some news that are not beneficial to the employees, but they need to be aware of what the current scenario is within the organization. But I'd like to ask you, Rawaz, that, as Hana was saying, that some people, they lost their jobs at that moment. So what do you think they did at that time? I mean, under these circumstances, because that is the fear in a lot of people worldwide, globally, that as to cut down the costs, etc. And these are some business decisions that employers might take. How long can they sustain people in a lockdown situation? So what do you think, both of you actually, what do you think people should do when this happens, when there has been restructuring in an organization?
If I may go first, Hana. So first I have to give you a bit of context about the employment sector in Iraq. And the majority of people in Iraq actually don't work in the private sector. Most of them work in the government sector. I think yesterday the government 2 days ago, the government came out and said basically around 6 million out of 40 million Iraqis are on some form of government payroll. So the state is a huge employer, and their productivity is actually not that great. So people really take a risk when they put themselves out there on the private sector side, because not only they don't have any social security benefits, but they also don't have any steady income. While the state is expected to give a steady, continuous income, the private sector doesn't promise that and cannot promise that. Okay, so but what that also does is it makes the people that are in the private sector a lot more resilient, So we did a few surveys around what happened to the staff that left, and I know most of them are maybe watching this video now, who I'm very good on very good terms with. They either went to better jobs because they already had the foundation and the skills, but of course it takes time. Some of them chose to immigrate to other countries, whether it's the US, Canada. I think we have one in New Zealand, London, because when you've built a base of, being a knowledge worker, whether you're in Iraq or in Pakistan or in anywhere else, your skills matter, and there could be a time when Iraq doesn't need you, so it's fine to go and look for opportunities elsewhere. So for most of our staff, actually, and for some of our staff, we started relocating them in different positions within our group of companies. And that was, for me, that was something that I'm very, very proud of, because, okay, maybe Iraq doesn't need that much telecommunication investment, or the infrastructure on telecoms is destroyed, but there is still a need for things like reconstruction. So we started working on a brick plant, and we had a lot of these people that were working on our towers. They were setting up our electric systems, etc., in the telecom side, and we simply gave them job opportunities in another company because we knew that they were good, and we knew that they would perform because these were people that we had already experience with. So it's a combination of everything. Of course, the people who Hana mentioned, some of the people that were miserable, I'm sorry to say, if you're being miserable, nobody will hire you wherever you are, So it's very important to keep a positive attitude, even if the world is collapsing,
Yeah, but that's easier said than done.
That's true.
I mean, when you are laid off from a job, it's basically what's happening is that they're taking that financial security aspect of you. So they're taking that part away from you. And when that part is away from you, you can't help to feel anxious and have an anxiety. And of course, fear it's how your brain reacts to the situation. Is a psychological thing. But again, because what you can do at around that time when you are, let's say, laid off, and that is something not in your control, and we're talking a lot about what's in your control and what's not in your control, and that's something that is not in your control. And what can be in your control is that look inwards and see what you're really good at, list down your weaknesses, your strengths, and say, okay, here are my strength points, here are my skill sets. I could use that towards finding a new job. But again, that's a transition that takes time. It will need support, whether that be from your friends, from your family, from trusted colleagues. But eventually, things work out for the best. And even if it doesn't work out for the best, you would have to make up a story that it works out for the best. It's what you tell yourself. It's a story that you tell yourself. So I think, even if you say, oh, you need to have a positive outlook towards the situation, that's really difficult to do when something good that is being taken away from you. But again, time helps. It's a transition period, and, step by step, you can try to build yourself again through, what you're really good at, and also acknowledging your weaknesses. I think one of the most important parts and as is we don't acknowledge what we're not good at. And we try to do things that we're not good at just to prove a point. That does not really serve you well. So try to focus on what you're really good at.
Yeah, that's true. What from both of you, thank you for this input. The thing is that when we have a career choice, like you refuse to be a doctor, right? But sometimes if we are not getting, if we are laid off or there are some challenges, we forget about the other strengths that we have. I mean, you said that you redirected people towards other kind of tasks that needed to be done. But we ourselves need to think too that, what other strengths do I have? If I've been, in the financial sector or anything, there could be some other strengths that I have never even thought about. And in these times, uncertain times, we have to reconsider what else. Just like businesses have to diversify, maybe perhaps all the people, they need to diversify themselves as well. That what else can I do? Okay, there might not be job opportunities in this particular aspect, but there could be so much more. So kind of a belief in self is very important.
Indeed. And just to come back on that, I want to come to the personal side of what I did after the crisis. Of course, the business is a business context. So at the end of the day, you deal with the variables that you're being given. But for me personally, if I remember you guys remembering me, I was over 115 kilos at that time, and Hana really helped me and supported me actually to lose weight, So I went on a vigorous program to basically, I looked at myself and I said, you know what, the business life is going down, so I might as well take better care of myself, So I lost significant amount of weight. I picked up new habits. I looked at new habits new things to basically create this positivity, because no matter how much we tell ourselves we need to be positive, we actually need to work it. Whether, and for me, things that have helped me has been things like yoga. I've taken up hiking trips, mountain biking. I've experienced things that I never thought I would do, like paragliding. I took a paragliding trip out from on top of the mountains in Suleymania, just to get out of these, just to improve yourself and pick up new hobbies, because it's important to exercise, or whatever it is that helps you know yourself better. That is really what's very important in a time of crisis, because if you don't know yourself, then who's supposed to know you?
What you were saying earlier, knowing yourself and picking up some hobbies. I think these are things that, it's a lifestyle choice. It's how you want to live your life and how to balance your work life. And but again, hobbies, work life, family time, social life, and the way you balance it it's something that it's learned from our surroundings, from our environment, from the people around us. And you can, if you're not learned that from your surrounding, you can teach yourself that. You can do that by yourself. I think that's what you were trying to do, is trying to balance your life.
Yeah, and I think, Hana, for you really started looking at, how is it that you can advance your career, right? And that is, I remember you telling me that you wanted to go to Colombia, and that you felt that you had to do this, So can you talk to everyone about just a little bit about that, and why you decided that was an important move for you?
Yeah, I think I reached a certain point of my career that, let's say, I hit the level where I thought I was accomplished enough in my work environment. And again, being in Suleymania and being in that institution, and bear in mind, you have to really look at the job opportunities there in Suleymania as well. No, there aren't many opportunities or many good places to work. There are a lot, but for me specifically, I thought that opportunities there wasn't enough, and I reached a level at the institution where I thought, okay, I think I'm good enough here. What's next? So I thought I was in that moment. I was in a phase where I wanted to learn more. Sometimes, you're not in that phase where you want to learn. But for me, I think specifically what really pushed me was, again, my surrounding. I was surrounded by a lot of colleagues, researchers, academics. We had a lot of people coming in from Washington to the institution. And I think those really inspired me to, I want to learn more. I want to, try that American culture. And, if I want to study, I want to study in an Ivy League university. And in a city where, everybody dreams of. So I thought, why not? If I have the opportunity, if I have, again, it was something that we decided together. And it was something that both of us wanted to actually, at that time, I think both of us, we wanted to study, but then we ended up having one of us study. So yeah, I think wanting to study and advancing your career, you reach a certain level of life where you say, I am where I am. This is good for me, but what's next? Do I want to just stay put, or do I want to progress myself? Do I want to invest in myself? And investing in yourself it's always good. It's something that you can.
It's perhaps the best form of investment.
It's the best form of investment, and it's something that you what you learn, you internalize it, and you apply it to your not only professional but onto your daily life. So yeah, that was the moment for me where I just even before leaving my job, I thought about, okay, next year I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to study.
Yeah, and I think, Hana, if we come back to why you wanted to work at the American university, in the first place. If I remember our conversations back then, you said that you wanted to be in an environment that was diverse and that was multicultural very, very early on. And that was one of the primary reasons why you wanted to work in that institution. So can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I'm trying to remember, because that was so long ago.
Yeah, I know.
I think part of it was, coming back from, from London and, being in a very, studying in a very, very progressive environment, and then coming back to Kurdistan and trying to, work it out on your own. And you have to bear in mind that, we're in a systemic environment such as, Britain, going back to an environment in where you have to make the system yourself. You sometimes have to make the rules by yourself. And where things work out through personal connections, through who you know and who you don't know. That was very difficult. And I think what I really wanted the most is a system. Not necessarily a diverse place, was it a good place, but I wanted a system. And I thought the American university, and at that time was relatively new and still new, but it had a system in place. And it was, it was a nice place. It was something where I thought I could contribute my energy and my time into this place, and I think I can work it out. And I like the place. I think I really enjoyed working there, and I got to know a lot of people there. And I'm still very much connected to it, and I feel like that is also part of my identity in some ways. I was shaped and formed professionally pretty much by that environment. By that, and I loved seeing students there and how they were progressing, and I continuously compared them to students from other universities, and how the people that I was surrounded with, they were critically thinking about topics, and they were expressing themselves, especially in a country where self-expression is not very much encouraged. It's kind of frowned upon. So seeing those things really encouraged me to work more, to be part of that institution. And I think that was the main reason why I joined that place. Was not necessarily in the beginning. It was not necessarily because it was diverse. It was great. It was just I needed a system. In a place where system doesn't necessarily exist. Yeah.
No, and I think one of the things that helps, Hana, is and I'm sure Haseeb and Zaufi would elaborate on this more. Is one of the sources of positivity that people can have is just a sense of gratitude towards the privileges that you have. So whether it's you having a roof, being grateful that you have a roof on top of your head, or you have a healthy body, or you have a healthy hand, or you have a healthy, or your parents are okay, or you have kids, whatever it is that you already have. When you look at it from the point of gratitude, it allows you to really think that, okay, maybe the world is not collapsing. No matter what is happening out there in the world, I still have two eyes that are functioning. I have two hands that are working. There are lots of people in the world that are not having that. And for me, it was always important that to remind myself that that when you're at a certain income level, that you have to be able to see the life of others. To be able to reach out to them and help them if they need help, because it's important to acknowledge your privileges and see how you could really use your privilege to help not just yourself, but help others to have a more positive outlook towards life.
Absolutely.
Good.
To sum it up, what happens is, even though we are talking about what to do in what businesses should do, but the most important thing is what we can do on our individual level as well. We don't focus on our locus of control. We are always concentrating on what's going to happen about my employment, the business, what's going to be happening there, etc. But the first area to focus is on you yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yes. Work with what you have.
Yes, please, Hana.
No, I'm just saying that work with what you have. You know,
Yeah.
work with what you don't have, work with what you have, or what's working for you, and try to improve that.
I mean, Sophie, just to elaborate, and I fully agree with what you're saying. You know, most people don't look at how they behave in the most basic forms. So you are in control of how you eat, right? So you can decide what you want to eat. You know, nobody forces you to eat anything. Okay, so and you can decide how you wanna how you drink. You can decide whether you want to smoke. You can decide, and once you acknowledge that these things are really within you, but not some form of thing that is out there, then you also start becoming less resentful toward the world. You start thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe my past was bad, and I think Haseeb, you had put a poster on that on your Facebook. You know, you can be bitter about your past, but it's better to be using your past to make yourselves better in the future. Correct?
Absolutely. We concentrate on our negativity more than on whatever is good is happening in our life. You said a very good point.
I think they're disconnected again.
Yeah. So until they come back, I mean, I just want to share that until Zaufy comes back. I mean, you know, there is always this thinking that, and I think, Hana, you have looked at this also, and I have looked at this over the last 5 years. You know, eating habits and how you eat and how you deal with the most basic forms of what you do in the day. You know, so can you share with us what have you changed and what you have looked at, and what tips do you have for others to help them improve
in terms of health?
And general well-being of themselves? Yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you are what you eat. That's some, you know. I mean, most important fact. I mean, healthy body, healthy mind. And you know, we all know that. But it's about the choices that you make on your daily basis. Whether you want to wake up early and have breakfast immediately, or you want to delay that for a couple of hours, and that affects your mood throughout the entire day. Eating healthy, for some people could be vegetable, for some people could be protein, but it depends on variety, it depends on balance, and it depends on the portion as well. It depends on, just listen to your body, in terms of how much you want to eat. I think the more mindful of ourselves, the more mindful of our bodies, the more healthier we become. And the other thing, that if you want to keep a healthy lifestyle, which kind of improves your productivity level at work, is to really exercise. That's the basic form of living your life, living a healthy life, is to eat well, be mindful of what you're eating, and you can eat everything you want, but in consideration. And at the same time, exercise as well. Keep your mind healthy, keep your body healthy. And most of the time, actually, when we're angry or when we reacting towards a situation, maybe, or a negative situation, sometimes it's very much inwards, that there's something, kind of agitating us from the inside, whether that's, upset stomach, whether you have a problem in your knee. Those really affects your mood as well, and the way you react towards life. So I think, before you even react to a negative situation, you really have to ask yourself, okay, how am I feeling today? What's going on here? And once you know, okay, is it me? Is it an internal thing, or is it, the reality is something else? Because sometimes we look at situation from our own worldviews, and my lenses or my worldviews is entirely different from your worldview. My experiences in my life is, it's very different. Now that I look at Kurdistan, like I'm in New York, I'm completely detached from the realities of Kurdistan. I don't even know what's happening there at the moment. Even when I watch news, I can't really relate to it because I'm not in that environment anymore. So again, it really comes back to the way you look at situations, and most of it is really inwards and how you feel that day, and how you react to it. Sometimes,
very absolutely right.
Yeah, very much what you are eating that day.
That's so true, and also whether I had enough sleep last night or not. For me, these days I'm also sort of like, I think, under the influence a little bit.
Yeah.
One day I'm feeling wow, and the next day I'm feeling down, meow, like mama, help me. I don't feel that kind of a feeling, and I've concluded one thing: my water intake and my sleep. So if I don't sleep, what is required for my body to rest, my mind is not functioning well.
Indeed.
So yeah, which is most of the time. So I need coffee to sort of like help me and guide me, sort of like put me straight and sort of like put me to sleep sometimes by force.
Yeah. But what you eat really affects how you operate in life. And if you are a person in a position of power, that day you're not in a good mood, or you haven't had your coffee in the morning and you kind of get angry or outburst, or make a decision based on how you felt that day, that trickles down to people around you, and it creates this butterfly effect. I mean, things happen from a very, very small situation. Decisions are made based on how you felt that day, and whether that decision was a good one or a bad one, it affects the outcome.
That's so true. That's so true. So I'm just concerned about you guys. When are you guys going to eventually meet now? And like, it's been what, 6 months? You're in Kurdistan and you're in and you're still in your honeymoon phase, if I may say so. Like, we've been married for 33 years. So ups and downs. And every time I've been traveling or she's been traveling, so our love has become stronger. So I'm sure that it has also become stronger in your case. But what are your plans of coming together? Are you planning on visiting Kurdistan, or are you planning on visiting the US? What looks like the future?
Again, because things are very uncertain right now, not because of in our control. It's really not in our control. That's the situation. It's very uncertain. So I've come to terms with the fact that things are uncertain. I'll just go with the flow, see where it takes us. I'm not stressing about it. I hope Rawaz is not stressing about that. But it would be best for us if we meet in a middle point, whatever that middle point is.
Pakistan.
Come to the mountains. Come to the pine forest.
It's been a while since we saw each other. I mean, it's important to see each other and reconnect, because it's been 6 months since the last time was it December? Yeah, it was December, and he was supposed to come in May. But again, because things are very uncertain, and we'll see how we move forward in the future, and that's all dependent on when the airports are opening.
For me, it's the same thing. I mean, I'm really done with trying to looking at things that I can control in my life. I think it's just life happens, and I actually, just as I speak now, I am not in Kurdistan. I came here on I applied for a business trip to Istanbul, and then I have been stuck here in this beautiful house of a cousin of mine.
You're in Istanbul?
Yeah, I am in Istanbul. I have been here for 3 months, and I have just, rather than taking a very negative attitude and saying, okay, this is going to be the end of the world, etc., very early on, I said, you know what, let me have the best days of my life. So I do meditation in the morning, eat well in lunch, have a bit of exercise, light up the mood in the house with everyone else that is in it, enjoy a bit of music, connect with Hana. And the rest of the world, I don't know what will happen with Corona. I think everyone is kind of reading to it, but I think I stopped looking at the statistics a while ago, because it doesn't matter. When the airports are open, I would know. I don't think I need to constantly check, what is happening out there. So I'm just here to see, and it's a good time to reflect. It's a good time to know yourself more, and it's a great time to know your partner in life, and to really try to reach out and understand their truths, and as well as your truths,
True.
That is so true.
Well, from what we've been talking about, I've thought and jotted down some of the points so that we can refresh them for all the audiences. But the main thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong in that during uncertain times, people want to get rich quickly. So, that is not possible because the business cycle has gone totally haywire. So forget about whatever business cycles they have been. I'd rather see them, Haseeb.
Okay.
I enjoy talking to them, please. Thank you.
I'm just playing with a new toy here.
Cost reduction, sometimes it can mean restructuring. But, the impact of restructuring has a detrimental impact on whatever employees you retain. So improving efficiency does not mean just restructuring, because the demotivational impact is going to be more. So before you lay off other people, they can be given other jobs, just like you said so, Rawaz, as well. And flatten the organization. By flattening mean that there's no hierarchy anymore, because everybody has to go together as a team. And you said a very good thing that, transparency. Take all the team members as a team and talk to them about what you're going through. Ask, maybe they have great ideas. Just don't think that because you're on the top of the pyramid, you have the best ideas. Maybe they can come up with very creative ideas. And diversifying revenue stream. Whether you're in an SME or a larger organization, you said you lost 60% of some kind of coverage, etc. But now time to diversify, going into some other things. And I would recommend to people, it's so interesting that, some recession-proof businesses, recession, uncertainty-proof businesses, there are so many still there. So as Hana was saying, do not give up. Don't be demotivated. Have faith in yourself.
And this too shall pass.
Absolutely.
And this will pass.
This will pass.
This will pass. This is passing, actually.
This is passing. Yeah.
And, the kind of plan B, C, D, X, Y that we never took, this is the time, because there's already risk involved. So, what you never thought that maybe I should implement it, go ahead and implement it and see. Maybe it can really blossom during these uncertain times. And for people who are scared, insecure about losing their jobs, globally I'm talking about, there are still jobs available. You just need to know your strengths, where you can go. I mean, one of the things is schools, academics, universities, they are still operating. So if you've been in the organization for 10, 15 years, hell, you can at least teach management or whatever, or negotiation skills and conflict management like you, Hana. So there is so many opportunities. The only thing is, if we shut our eyes, then we are not looking at our blessings, at our strengths, etc. So these were the things. And people who have been laid off, it's time to start your own business. Now, more so than ever, microfinancing, loans, and other collaborative businesses, they have started providing financial services. So my thing is, just sit down, make a plan, even though we don't know what's going to happen. The only thing is that what kind of a plan I'm making, and then throwing it into the universe. My
suggestion to people is, hey, forget about what is not in our own control and start focusing on absolutely right into our own things. Yes, what we eat, how we rest, who we communicate with. Yeah, this is extremely important, who we communicate with. Yeah. We need to connect with people. We need to connect with friends more so than ever, especially people in isolation. Right? Yeah, especially, yeah. And also, like, I mean, just like this, I mean, we met you, what, 6 years ago when we came to Kurdistan from Dubai. And then wonderful time we had over there. And then from after that, we went to Erbil. And then we went to Shingalbana. Shingalbana is an amazing resort. Yeah. What a nice romantic time we have over here. There, like, going around. And there's these...
there was a waterfall in between.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the name. They have restaurants and a small waterfall on the way, about 40 minutes to Shingalbana. In fact, I climbed that waterfall. I mean, I nearly slipped and broke my neck, but it was fun climbing.
But everything was, as they call it, as they said in the UK, Hana, like everything was hunky-dory about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
No, that road that we went to is called the Hamilton Road. It's one of the most beautiful sceneries that I have seen, and I have seen I've been fortunate enough to see lots of places, and it was so good that even Top Gear from the UK, they came in and they did a special on that. So for everyone that is watching, I would highly recommend that you look at Top Gear and what they did in Iraq. And you guys, had a great time there, and I'm so grateful that you guys came for that trip. I know it was not easy for anyone at that time, even though it was having a much better, PR basically at that time. But still, you guys took the risk. You guys took the conscious risk to basically.
Oh, we were just making good money, man. We were just making good money from you guys.
There you go. So, and it's important to know yourself,
No, we had a great time.
We had a great time.
Met the locals. And the funny part is, I'll share something with you. I lined up some meetings, of course, for business prospects in Erbil as well. And I did not speak Kurdish. And I was using
Arabic.
The taxi drivers there. So whatever little Arabic that I had been learning, I used to speak broken Arabic there and still, get by in Erbil as well.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks after we left, I mean, the shit hit the fan, yeah? I mean, the ceiling, and it's like everything became stopped. And we said, well, wow, man, great timing, Zaufi. I'm glad we sort of like went and saw a new country, a new culture, saw beautiful people. And like, there are very few places on this earth which actually value Pakistani passports and Pakistani people. Kurdistan is one of them.
Yeah, and I love that there is a certain mutual respect from people. And by the way, inshallah, once all this is over, I wanted to go to Baghdad at that time as well. And they said, no, elections are going on. We can't let you go. Your people, they forbade me from going. But inshallah, I'm going to visit Kurdistan and Baghdad as well, inshallah.
Very good. I think it's been a good 1 hour, guys. So, like, I think we can call it a day. And like,
Thank you so much. And Anna, especially you had to get up in the wee early hours of the morning. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Yeah.
And may you guys meet pretty soon. And may all this uncertainty end. And
and may you guys live happily ever after. Whether it's virtually or whether it's going to be
not virtually, together.
Together also, yeah.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Love you guys. Thank you
very much, Zaufi and Haseeb, for this opportunity. I really had a good time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hana. Thank you, Rawaz. See you. Bye. Ma salama.
Bye.